Okay, Gila, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for even organizing the Zoom meeting. Because mine didn't work out. I ran out of time before we got together because I don't have the expensive one. You obviously use Zoom a lot for your meetings. You probably have international clients, correct?
Oh, lots of them. Yes, absolutely. I laugh sometimes and I say I live on the Zoom.
Oh my goodness. All right, Gila, please, Gila Sloan, where do you live in Israel? We know you're in Israel. Where are
Okay.
you?
I live in the beautiful hills of Binyamin,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
otherwise known as part of the Schamroth. And it's a very beautiful area, and I feel grateful to be actually living here in Israel and here.
Oh, me too. And tell me what a little bit about yourself. I did send you some questions, so you can free flow it, or we can do specific questions. But I'm so curious as to how, as social worker, how long did you work as a social worker, and how did you transition? Are you still doing social work, and are you using crystals as part of your work? Just tell me about yourself.
Okay, so first of all, what I love to do, and I think that's my raison d'etre, is to bring happiness to people, bring harmony to people. That's like something that I love to do. Today, I do that through the use of Avnei Choshen, or Choshen stones, worn by the high priest in the temple in the Beit HaMikdash, and crystals. Okay, now you're going to say to me, but crystals and the Avnei Choshen worn by the high priest, they were 12. And I use over 100 crystals. So how does that resonate? So the issue is, first of all, with that, Rabbeinu Bachai, one of our sages, tells us that all of the stones are actually related to the 12 stones. They're like, I said, they're descendants of these stones. So therefore, I feel very comfortable saying that I work with all my stones are Choshen stones. It just depends at what level. Okay. Then you asked me, yes, I'm a social worker. So that was it. I wanted to make people happy. I wanted to make everything better. And so what I'm doing today relates to that as well. Sorry. Sorry. Let's see. We can turn that. And you know what happens is we want to help people, but it's not always possible. Not always possible to help them in the ways we want, and especially as a social worker, usually, for me anyway, I was working within a certain framework, and so I had to go according to their guidelines, which was fine. But I felt like a little bit loaded down with bureaucracy. Anyway, I had a whole journey, which we're not going to go into now, but I found myself working in an academic institution, working in actually the fundraising field and academic administration, running academic programs, really interesting things. And I grew from everything and I learned from everything. But the side of me that wanted to care for people and to help people was feeling a little bit neglected. And it just was amazing to me that I felt that God showed me the way, really, because there was a course running very close to where I was working at hours that fitted in for me because I was working full time in an academic institution. You just can't, leave. Which at a later stage I did actually. I decided I have to study group work. So I studied group work. It was Wednesday morning. I'm working with the president of a university. And he says, where are you? It's like, I'm studying. I'm sorry, I'm not available now. That was also just being able to say that was a big step in my journey. But anyway, I went and I studied these crystals. It was after hours. It was wonderful. And my husband said to me, you know what, Gila? This is what you've got to do. You are so passionate about this. I haven't seen you as passionate about anything else. And so that was the beginning of my journey into the crystal world. I studied it, and I knew nothing. I have to tell you the truth. When I started, I knew so nothing that you can't believe how little I knew.
So how many years have you been doing this now then?
I've been doing this for almost 10 years.
And what the academic institution and all the work that you did, was that, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Australia. Okay.
Australia, beautiful accent, yeah.
Thank you.
But you're Israel, you've been here quite a long time, I understand.
That's right. I've been here for over 30 years.
Well, we don't even look old enough to have done that, but okay. But wonderful. So you must have been talking about working here in Israel as a social
Oh,
worker
I
and
only, yeah, I worked for a couple of years in Australia. I've worked, yeah, it was a tough field. I enjoyed it, but I worked for a couple of years. I was young. I was young. I mean, I was married with one child at the stage. We made Aliyah. Thank God we live here, and the family's grown. Yeah, my
so
life.
so you started off slowly learning about the crystals, but you were very passionate. So I imagine it wasn't too long before you've really learned a lot to where you felt confidence in becoming a practitioner of sorts. You left behind social work, or you incorporated?
You know what? The truth is, like, I entered social work because I wanted to help people. I said I want to bring people happiness. Social work, for me, was a lot of administrative work and less counseling and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
when I work with the crystals, and because maybe we need to go back a step, and I need to explain what I do with the crystals, and then you'll understand how it all works in together. So what I do is my healing with the crystals. What does that mean? A person chooses a crystal. So if I have a few crystals here, for example, people choose crystals that they're attracted to. Crystals have frequencies, and therefore, we have frequencies. And when a person chooses, their subconscious tells them which stone to choose. What's the significance of a stone? Each stone actually has a meaning, tells us something about a person. So therefore, when people choose crystals, I get to understand lots and lots of things about them. Now, I get a very holistic picture about their physical well-being, their mental, their emotional, their spiritual. Really, I understand a lot. So I'll give you an example because that's the easiest way to know what I'm talking about. I met with a gentleman who lived in the UK. Okay. As I said, I live on the Zoom. I spent a lot of time there. The corona gave me the opportunity, the understanding that I can still do what I do on the Zoom, which is like mind-boggling. Really, to think that people could choose crystals just from pictures. And it's so accurate. It's amazing. Anyway, I met with this gentleman, and he had a particular physical ailment, and his wife had attended one of my webinars. She was obviously there as well, and she attended the webinar, and she said to me, Gila, maybe you could help my husband. Let's give it a go. And he had an issue with his masculinity. And then what happened was, when I did the assessment, I said to him, it seems to me that you went through some sort of trauma, difficulty in your childhood. He said to me, no, I had a lovely childhood, parents good, sibling, everything was fine. I said, let's think about it. Let's think a little bit more deeply. And then he said to me, you know what, I went through a lot of bullying as a child. And in school, etc. And that was the issue. And that was the issue. He still today was feeling bullied, whether it was in the educational framework that he was working in, or generally, he had that sense of being bullied. Now, he had gone for his physical ailment, he had gone through a lot of different types of treatment. Obviously, he'd gone through conventional and some sort of dietetic stuff and all sorts of different things. But what I wanted to treat was the emotional aspect. And that's what I was able to treat. He said to me, Gila, I've got a 90% improvement. So it was unbelievable. Baruch Hashem. And I say, how great are the wonders of Hashem. God's wonders are amazing. And I actually call the crystals Trufot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem's medications, because I really feel that these are a gift that God has given us, and we're learning how to use them. For a long time.
That's my question for you now. So how do you use them? And I guess you're going to story that he's better now, but what made him better? Just choosing the correct stone, using it, taking it home. Are you sending it to them? Are they buying their own? Like if it's, unless you're with them in person, like how does it heal?
So there are a few ways that we could use crystals. Okay, we can have a look here. I've actually got a sore hand. So I have a crystal that helps relieve pain. So I put that here. It's like magical. It's really magical. And that's so that's one way of putting it in various places. And there are certain places that are more suitable to use crystals. And there's another way, which is also really interesting. We can place crystals in water, in a glass of water. And then we actually, after 24 hours, we drink that water because the frequencies of the crystals have transferred to the water. So so we need to use the crystals for them to affect us. We have bracelets, jewelry, whatever, all different ways of using it. I tailor make it. Each person has their own prescription in inverted commas. I don't think there are any two people that I've ever given the same things to. Sometimes if I'm working with children, I'm not going to recommend in general that they wear crystals on their body. It's just not practical. So we can place the crystals in the water, they can drink them, and sometimes I'll make them a necklace, something that they are comfortable with. I'm not going to, a boy that never wears jewelry and it's not relevant for him, obviously I'm not making him a necklace, but sometimes there are boys that on a leather strap will love to wear a stone. So it will really depend each case. And I send things out by mail. I courier stuff all over the world. It's amazing.
So where do you get your crystals from?
I buy them here. I buy everything here in Israel. I know a lot of people buy things on the internet. I personally like to go and choose my crystals. I hand pick each crystal because I have to buy things that I like, and if the crystal's chipped or if it's this or that. So I go and I buy them, and I also have to know where I'm buying them, that they're reliable and honest places, because yes, I can tell the difference in the crystals between a fake one and a real one, mostly. Sometimes there are great imitations. So I don't want to be caught out. Absolutely, I don't want to be caught out,
Right. So let's say, can you walk me through a process of, first of all, how do people find you? Do you have yourself advertising places, or is it word of mouth?
Sorry. I would say, as we say in Hebrew, gum v'gum, this and this. So obviously referrals. I don't do a lot of advertising. I don't do print advertising, very, very minimal. I run webinars. I often run webinars on different topics so that I advertise on social media. I have a group of people that already know about me. So they're on my mailing list and they want to attend all my webinars. I also do I run a panel. Every couple of months, I run what I call a panel. I choose a topic and I ask two guests to join me. And they look at it, whatever the topic may be, whether, let's say, keeping warm. Winter warmth was one of the panels as we approached the winter. So I asked a dietitian, somebody who deals with not a diet, healthy food, healthy eating, and I took what do they call people? A stylist. What do you call that in English? I don't know. Somebody who helps people choose their clothes, what suits them, what's good, etc. So as we're approaching winter, and then of course, so they had what foods are going to keep them warm. And how to keep healthy and how to dress to keep warm. She had some great tips, I have to tell you. And I came in, what crystals? There are actually crystals. If you take, for example, the hematite, which is, I don't have one on my desk here, a metallic type of stone, and you can put it on the inside of your ankles. You stick it there just like I did this. And it helps to get the blood circulating.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to ask for some questions. I want, if you don't mind, giving us some examples of some of your greatest successes, and like, from anything from emotional to medical. But one thing I just want to tell you is, just last night I read an article. I've been an anesthetist for 30 years, and then I became educated to become a Chinese medicine practitioner, acupuncturist, and herbalist. And I saw a picture, maybe it was this morning, on one of my many Facebook groups for acupuncture all over the world, and it was a picture of a crystal, just a big crystal, like a small crystal, like the size of your finger. And it was pink, and it was like very like jagged looking. And I thought, what a funny picture somebody would just put up there, this acupuncture page. And then I decided to read the article. Or it was a little post, it wasn't an article. The post was, I was in a restaurant, and the waiter was in excruciating back pain, And I didn't have any of my acupuncture needles with me, but I did have a quartz crystal with me. So I put that quartz crystal on the places. I just held it to the person where I would put an acupuncture point and relieve the pain 100%. I went, oh my gosh, we're going to talk about that today. But
Wow.
is
That's so
there anything
interesting.
you've ever heard, such a thing that people would use? Like, I might be interested in learning to do that for my, I always am trying to improve what I can do for my patients. And I would send first of all, somebody to you as the expert in this area, or somebody to a cranial sacral therapist for that, or a massage. But I do a little bit of everything as part of my treatments because I know it does help people. And I'm wondering, maybe I should learn about this because that was such
How
it was an
my next
amazing
course.
story. It was an amazing story, and I really thought this is something interesting. I could be
Yeah.
interested in this.
That's it. It's so crystals are so fascinating. It's because they were so fascinating to me. Then I started to run these workshops before Corona.
To teach
Couldn't do
about
it
them.
anymore. And then I started to run webinars online. And then it was like people wanted to learn more and more. So I started teaching. So I started with
Wonderful.
level 1, and then I started level 2, and now I do level 3. And after level 3, my students.
I think I'm going to be one of your students because I'm very
Oh, that would be
interested.
so lovely. I actually
Okay.
have had an acupuncturist with me. I have a lot of people from alternate medicine because it's
Yeah,
broadening their skills. Let's add something else to the
exactly.
toolkit. And
Exactly.
people absolutely use it. The woman who this was somebody actually. Sorry, hello, my darling. 1 second. Okay, terrific. Neda. Çizgi because okay. That's part of why we live here, because our grandchildren live very close by.
As a grandchild?
That's my granddaughter.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Very nice. So lucky. That's wonderful. Both of you lucky.
Shush. Okay, that's just the way life is. Thank God, thank God. I'm very grateful. I love it when they come in.
Sure.
She's actually staying here for a few days. Okay, so
Give us some examples. Give us some examples
okay,
of
examples. Okay, this was really interesting. This was it's just was brought home to me how effective and efficient and unbelievable the crystals are. I treat this little girl was about 10 years old, and her mother said to me, you know, maybe you could help her, maybe you could do something with her. She's just a miserable type of girl. And 10 years old, I knew the parents, 5 people, 5 family, and I did an assessment on her, and whatever the results were, all different things. And I just said, okay, I'm going to put lots of various crystals in the water. So I put the crystals in water, told her how to take them, what to do. And she said, the mother said to me, she started to drink the water, and the teacher phoned up the mother. The teacher knew nothing about this, of course. And the teacher phoned up the mother and said to the mother, your daughter is behaving incredibly well. She's much happier. She's really. And the teacher kept on phoning the mother to tell her how much better this little girl was doing. So that
did
was.
she pick her own crystal out? Did she pick her own
Yeah, she
crystal
picked
out?
her own crystals.
So you helped her. Oh, you said you put some in the water, but was that your choice or her choice? Just curious.
From her choice, absolutely her choice. Okay, she chose. What happens is somebody chooses the crystals. Once I have the crystals they've chosen, I decipher, I understand what they mean, and then using those crystals, then I'm going to treat her. Sometimes I'm going to add crystals here or there because I understand, for example, I can understand that somebody has a severe self-confidence issue, for example, really. And you mentioned the rose quartz before. That pink quartz is a rose quartz, so you mentioned it. And that is a wonderful stone for self-confidence, to give somebody self-confidence. But there are a number of stones that are going to express self-confidence. If I understand, in general, if I understand that somebody really has a confidence issue and they haven't chosen that stone, and that could be for various reasons, and chances are, not always, as I said, very individual, but chances are that I'm actually going to give her that stone, even if she hasn't chosen it. Okay, so, but generally, the bulk is based on a person's choice of crystals, and those are the crystals that I'm going to use for them. Okay.
So how many treatments do people need for this? How many times do they
That
need to see you?
is something beautiful about this. Somebody will come to me, they will have a treatment that it's not even, I wouldn't even, it's less treatment. They're going to come for an assessment. Okay. They come to me for an assessment. I usually do 2 sessions with somebody. And after the 2 sessions, I give them whatever they want. We meet again a month after they've been using the crystals, and then maybe a year later. And that's it. So it's not very
Wow, I wish I
often.
could say that.
I
I wish
know
I could say I'll see
exactly.
you twice. You know, it's not like
Because
that
the
in other conventional
crystals
medicine
are
or
doing the
alternative
work.
medicine at all. It's not like that at all. Yeah,
Exactly. So
everybody responds individually, like you said. You have to see how it goes. And generally speaking, the longer someone has a problem, the longer they need to sort of eradicate that problem. That's kind of a rule of thumb in acupuncture for sure, and herbal medicine. But this is a very interesting, because then people have, I think, a lot more hope. First of all, it's not invasive,
it's
and it's
fun.
not
It's not
painful.
only is it
It's fun.
it's
It's not painful.
exactly.
Oh wow, you have the best job ever. I
I
envy you.
come and
It's
join me. Yeah, I agree. I do. I do. I feel I'm grateful. I really appreciate that I'm able. I feel it's a big honor, a zchut, to be able to work in this field. You know, I really do.
So you can, for our Jewish audience and our religious Jewish audience, tell us what connection or what like Rebbeim say about this, what the rabbis say about using crystals. It's nothing to do with Kabbalah, or probably maybe is. We just don't know enough about it, but it's got to have some kind of spiritual component to it as well, correct?
Absolutely.
You
So
want to speak to that a bit?
sure. So first of all, we meet in Sefer Shmot. Okay, we meet the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, and he wears, as part of one of his 8 garments that he wore in the Beit HaMikdash, he wore what was called the Choshen Mishpat, okay, the breastplate. And on there were embedded 12 stones. These stones are the Choshen stones, and 12 stones, 1 stone to represent each of the 12 tribes, okay?
Okay.
So we have our 12 stones. So those are the 12 stones that I discussed before, and that is the basis of my work. Now, we have Rabbeinu Bachai, who was a Kabbalist, actually, okay, and one of our sages, and he talks very much when it comes to that, where it discusses the clothing of the high priest. He has a lot to say about the 12 stones and about their abilities. And he says, אין לך אבן ואבן מכל האבנים היקרות שלא תמשוך כוח מן העליונים. There is no stone from among the precious stones that will not bring about power from above. Okay? And he also says, כל האבנים הן משורשיות או באות מאבני החושן. And he also tells us that all of the stones descend, so to speak, from the Avnei HaChoshen. So he's talking about all of the crystals having incredible power, okay? And he's not the only one. So now I've already expanded, and I don't need to just talk about the 12 stones, okay? I want to talk about all the crystals, because in the Gemara, in the Talmud, okay, it tells us, when it's talking about Shabbat, actually, in Masechet Shabbat, it tells us that a woman can go out on Shabbat carrying what they call the Even Tkuma. Okay, on Shabbat, she can carry a particular stone. Why can she carry this stone on Shabbat? Because on Shabbat, you're not allowed to carry in all areas. But why this? It says, Shema tapelna et avlad, to prevent her from having a miscarriage. Okay, so at the time of the Gemara, the Talmud, they were using crystals. And they understood that this stone, the Even Tkuma, the Tkuma stone, was a stone that prevented miscarriage. Okay, today we call this stone the carnelian, and we use it. I have sets of stones. I also work with sets, and I have a set of stone for a woman who's pregnant, to maintain her pregnancy. And among those stones is the Even Tkuma. And you asked about nice stories. 1 second, sorry. So I haven't had the opportunity to use those stones to help protect pregnancy, So I like to ask people. So this young woman who she had gone through her first pregnancy, was a very difficult pregnancy. The baby was born premature and she had certain developmental issues with him. Then she understood, she heard about, I guess, the crystals. So she turned to me for her second pregnancy and she got crystals. And then it came to the third pregnancy and she said, Gila, I've given away my crystal, whatever it was, she needed them.
Well, did she have a successful second pregnancy?
Baruch Hashem, perfect. Thank God.
I didn't hear that part. Okay.
Oh, yes, sorry. So for the third pregnancy, yes, she said she's pregnant and I knew her history. So I wanted to get the stones to her as quickly as possible. Anyway, then I spoke to her on the phone and I said to her, tell me, how do you feel? You can compare. How did you feel wearing the stones and not wearing the stones? Because if you're wearing them the whole time, this is how I feel. But when you put them on, you start to feel the effect and you can actually make a comparison. So she said to me, Gila, unbelievable. I felt less nauseous. I had a lot more energy. I was happier. I just felt so much better with the crystals. Okay. Now that was beautiful. I have to be honest, not everybody can define as well as she could define, and not everybody feels the energy as strongly as she felt it. The energy is working well. So even sometimes, like I'll say, sometimes we don't actually feel that it's doing something, but those frequencies are penetrating your system and are working. Okay.
So excuse my medical aspect. I always look at things medically first, and it's a good thing, I think, because I can do a whole integrative approach on people, so I can look at both. But I'm thinking, how did making her feel good help her maintain the pregnancy? She said she felt great, but how did that help strengthen her lower body, let's say, to keep that baby in, or whatever the case may be? What
So
did those frequencies do? I want to know
it
how they
was
work.
doing its work. The Shlah HaKadosh talks about crystals and he says sometimes when we don't understand exactly how things work, we call it a skula. Okay? A skula. And this is a skula because I can't explain how it's helping and protecting the pregnancy.
It's okay.
But it's working. But it's working. That's exactly it. But these are things that she could tangibly feel. But I continue with the story. She said to me, Gila, my son, the one that was born premature, he's in kindergarten now. He was in prep, we call it in Australia, Gan Chova in Israel. And, he doesn't have...
First grade.
Before first grade. Pre-first grade. Okay. Anyway, she said he doesn't have a lot of self-confidence and he's not so happy and da-da-da-da-da. So I said, so she didn't want to bring him to me, the distance, whatever it was. I said, you know what? This is what I think would work for him, these crystals. If you want, give it a try. And if you need to, then we can fine tune it, but you're going to have to bring him to me. I gave her the crystals for her son. And she called me up and she said, wow, what a difference. He's got so much more confidence and he stands up for himself in the kindergarten, etc. It was just beautiful. And of course, then she sent her husband to me.
That's the best. That's the best referral. Well, listen, okay, I really need to wrap it up. But before we go, can you tell us how we can get a hold of you and what webinars we can attend? And I will post this when I do the live presentation on the sidebar. And also on the posters, we'll make sure that people know your website if you have one, or how they can reach you. And just tell a little bit about your webinars. I'm a little curious about those too, because that sounds fascinating.
Okay, sure. So first of all, I have a website, gilaslonim.com, my name in one.com. So that's number one. And you'll find out when I've got upcoming webinars, etc., etc. And if anybody really wants to know, just send me a submission, send me a form, and then you'll receive my mailings with whatever's going on. I let people know before the panels and the webinars. Okay, so that's the best way. I'm also on Facebook, Gila Crystals, so you can get hold of me that way. So I'm around. Regarding the webinars, so webinars have carried numerous topics, okay? So one webinar was the crystal clear marriage magic, okay? So because there are some great crystal things to improve relationships between people. And I wanted to share that, and I concentrated all of those things. There are general webinars that I've given, which go through the different Avnei Choshen, the 12 stones, go through, explain them, what they are. For example, amethyst, which is what I've got here, one of my favorite stones. Okay, the amethyst is a spiritual stone. That's a stone of the tribe of Gad. Okay, and it's called the Achlama of the 12 stones. We call it today the amethyst. It's a very calming stone. It's a very spiritual stone. It helps you accept different situations, even if they're not so good. Sometimes we have to learn to live with things that are not always so good for us, or difficult thoughts and stuff like that. It helps build our intuition and all different things. So I go through 12 of the stones. So there are different topics that I cover. And the last couple of times I've done what I've called the impromptu webinar, which means I'm not preparing anything. Come on and just ask questions and I'll answer whatever I can. And, you know, I always share a bit of information. And when I do, it's very important for me always to share the Jewish sources. That's sort of, for me, that those are the building blocks, and that's where we can start. And once we understand that it's kosher, in inverted commas, then we can move on and appreciate these beautiful gifts that God has given us.
Wow. Well, this is such a fascinating topic, and I really appreciate you taking your very busy time. You're with your grandchildren. You have work doing, and you have all kinds of clients to see, I'm sure. So thank you for your time and your descriptions, and I'm very excited about it. I'm going to check out your website. I'm going to post it on the bottom of your screen and when we do the live. And I hope everybody pays attention to this and tries to contact Gila and get some information, and maybe sign up as a client would be wonderful. But it's wonderful. It's good for us to know that there are so many other avenues for healing out there. And so I'm really grateful to you to express this and explain this to our audience. And we hope to have you on again one time soon.
Thank you so much, Yehudis. It's been delightful chatting with you. You know, I love sharing and bringing these called the wonders of Avnei Choshen, and I like to be able to share this with everyone. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You.
Take care.
Okay, I think, oh no, the recording is still.